Captain Marcus Reed stood on the bridge of the deep space ship called Horizon's Edge and looked at the scanner screen with worry. Earth had stopped talking 36 hours ago. Not one message, not even the automatic signals that always came from home. The planet that used to send signals across space every second was now completely quiet. Anna. Torres ran her hands through her gray hair as she checked the computer readings. She was the second in command and had been working with space communications for 20 years. Captain, I see huge energy readings near Earth's atmosphere. Whatever happened to our planet was fast and it hit everywhere at once. The crew of 47 humans on the Horizon's Edge were far from home when the silence started. They were miners, scientists, and engineers who had signed up for a 5-year mission to explore space near the Centauri system. Now, they might be the only humans left alive in the universe. Dr. Michael Chun was the ship's expert on alien life forms. He found the first clue while looking at strange energy patterns in space. These readings are not natural. Someone or something used technology much better than ours to create a blocking field around Earth, but why would they want to stop all our communications? The Horizon's Edge started flying back toward Earth as fast as it could go. The crew worked day and night to understand what had happened. The long-distance sensors found something that made everyone afraid. Huge alien ships hung in space around Earth like silent guards. The ships looked like they were made of crystal and had strange, geometric shapes that hurt to look at. Reed called all the senior crew to the main meeting room. The room was small and cramped, with metal walls and bright lights that made everyone look tired. We need to figure out what happened and if anyone else survived. Anna, I want you to scan for any human ships in the area. Michael, keep studying. Those energy readings? Maybe we can learn something about these aliens. Torres worked on the communications equipment for hours. She tried every frequency and every code that humans had ever used. Nothing came back except empty space noise. Captain, I've tried everything. If there are other human ships out there, they're either too far away or they're being blocked by the same thing that's blocking Earth. Dr. Chun made another discovery that worried everyone even more. The energy field around Earth isn't just blocking communications. It's doing something else. The readings show that time itself is moving differently inside the field. Everything on Earth might be frozen in time. The ship's navigator, Tom Wilson, was a quiet man who rarely spoke unless he had something important to say. He had been plotting their course back to Earth when he noticed something strange. Captain, I'm seeing movement near the alien ships. Small craft are flying between them in patterns. It looks like they're organized and working together. Reed looked at the main screen that showed Earth surrounded by the crystal ships. His home planet looked normal from far away, but he knew that something terrible had happened to everyone he had ever known. His wife and daughter were down there, frozen in time if Dr. Chun was right. Sir, we're getting a weak signal, Torres said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. It's very faint and it's coming from the direction of the outer planets. It might be human. The signal was hard to hear through all the static and interference. Reed listened carefully as Torres cleaned up the sound. Finally, a voice came through the speakers. It was speaking English, but the words were hard to understand. This is cargo ship New Mumbai calling any human vessels. We escaped from Earth before the aliens came. We saw what they did. Please respond if you can hear this. Reed felt hope for the first time in days. This is Captain Marcus Reed of the Horizon's Edge. We're on our way back to Earth. What's your position? Captain Reed, thank God you're alive, came the reply. This is Captain Lisa Park. We're badly damaged and low on fuel. We barely got away when those crystal ships appeared. They came without warning and covered Earth in some kind of energy field. Park's ship had been carrying supplies to the mining colonies on Titan when the attack happened. She had seen the alien ships arrive and deploy their energy field. They're not trying to destroy Earth, Marcus. They're trying to preserve it. Every city, every building, every person is frozen exactly as they were when the field activated. The crew of the Horizon's Edge listened in horror as Park described what she had seen. The alien ships had appeared suddenly and without warning. They had surrounded Earth and activated their preservation field before anyone could react. The last thing Park had seen before escaping was her home planet covered in a strange blue glow. How many ships got away? Reed asked. I don't know. We've been running for 3 days and we haven't seen anyone else. Our engines are failing and we're almost out of food. Can you help us? Reed ordered the ship to change course to meet with the new Mumbai. As they flew toward the other ship, he wondered how many other humans had escaped. Were there dozens of ships out there, or were they the only ones left? Dr. Chun continued studying the alien energy readings. Captain, I think these aliens have done this before. The technology they're using is too advanced and too precise. They know exactly what they're doing. When the Horizon's Edge finally met up with the new Mumbai, Reed saw how damaged the other ship was. Its hull was cracked and several of its engines were not working. Captain Park and her crew of 18 people looked tired and scared. They had been running on emergency power for days. We need to find other survivors, Reed told Park as they met in the docking bay. And we need to figure out what these aliens want. Park shook her head. I don't think it matters what they want. They have Earth and everyone on it. We're the only ones left free, and I don't think they're going to let us stay that way. As the two ships flew together through space, Reed realized that they were no longer just explorers or miners. They were refugees from their own planet running from an enemy they didn't understand. The question was whether they could stay ahead of the aliens long enough to find a way to save Earth and everyone on it. 3 days after meeting the new Mumbai, the two ships found more survivors. The cargo ship called Freedom's Dawn came limping toward them with its engine smoking and its hull damaged. Captain David Kim had managed to escape from the Mars orbital station with 23 people when the alien ships first appeared. They came out of nowhere, Kim told Red during their emergency meeting. One moment we were loading supplies for the Earth colonies, and the next moment these crystal ships were everywhere. We barely had time to launch before they surrounded the whole solar system. The Freedom's Dawn had been closer to Earth when the aliens attacked. Kim had seen the preservation field activate and watched as all the ships near Earth stopped moving. It was like someone had pressed a pause button on the entire planet. Ships, satellites, everything just froze in place. Dr. Chun studied the data that Kim had collected during his escape. The readings showed that the preservation field was not just affecting Earth, but was slowly expanding outward. If this field keeps growing, it will eventually reach the outer planets. We need to stay ahead of it. Ana Torres had been monitoring space communications since they found the first survivors. Captain, I'm picking up more signals. There are at least 6 other ships out there, maybe more. They're all heading toward the same meeting point in the asteroid belt. Reed made the decision to gather as many survivors as possible. The 3 ships flew toward the asteroid belt where they hoped to find other humans who had escaped the aliens. Along the way, they encountered the mining ship called Deep Digger with 15 crew members, and the passenger transport called Star Runner. With over 40 people, the growing group of survivors met in the shadow of a large asteroid. Captain Reed looked around at the other ship captains and realized they were probably looking at most of the free humans left in the galaxy. We need to figure out what these aliens want and how to stop them. Captain Park had been studying the alien ships from a safe distance. I've been watching their movement patterns. They're not just guarding Earth, they're searching for something. Small groups of their ships keep leaving the main fleet and coming back. Dr. Chun had made a disturbing discovery while analyzing the alien technology. I've been studying the energy signatures from their ships. This technology is millions of years old. These aliens have been doing this for a very long time. The ship's computer expert, Lieutenant Robert Hayes, had been trying to decode alien transmissions. Sir, I've managed to translate some of their communications. They call themselves the Collectors. And they're not trying to destroy civilizations. They're trying to preserve them. The translated messages revealed the truth about what had happened to Earth. The Collectors traveled through space looking for intelligent species that had reached their peak of development. When they found such a species, they would preserve the entire civilization at its moment of greatest achievement. Earth isn't the first, Hayes continued. According to their records, they've preserved hundreds of species across the galaxy. They have a massive facility somewhere that serves as a museum for all the civilizations they've collected. Captain Kim leaned forward in his chair. So they're treating us like museum pieces? They want to keep us frozen forever? Not forever, Dr. Chun said. According to the data, they study each preserved species for thousands of years. They learn everything about their culture, their technology, their biology. Then they move on to find the next species to preserve. The survivors realized they were facing something worse than destruction. The collectors wanted to turn humanity into a display. In their galactic museum, everyone who had ever lived on Earth would remain frozen in time, never knowing what had happened to them. Torres had been monitoring the alien ships around Earth. Captain, I'm detecting movement. More collector ships are arriving. It looks like they're bringing reinforcements. The group of survivors held an emergency meeting. They had to decide whether to run farther from Earth or try to find a way to fight back. Most of the people wanted to run, but Reed knew they couldn't run forever. We need to learn more about these collectors, Reed said. If they've been doing this for millions of years, someone must have fought back before. Maybe we can find out how. Dr. Chun had been studying the star charts looking for clues about other preserved species. Captain, I've found something. There are several star systems that show signs of having had advanced civilizations, but now they're empty. These might be places where the collectors have been before. The survivors decided to split up and investigate different systems. Some ships would go to look for traces of other preserved species, while others would try to find a safe place to hide and plan their next move. As the ships prepared to leave the asteroid belt, Torres detected something on the long-range sensors. Captain, we have a problem. There's a collector ship heading this way. It's moving fast and it's scanning everything in its path. The human ships scattered in different directions, but the collector ship was faster than anything they had. It caught up with the passenger transport Star Runner before it could escape. The crew of the Star Runner sent out a final message before their ship was captured. This is Captain Walsh of the Star Runner. The collectors have some kind of tractor beam. We can't break free. Tell our families we tried to stay free. Don't let them capture you too. Reed watched helplessly as the Star Runner was pulled into the collector ship. 43 more humans had been captured and would be added to the alien collection. The remaining survivors realized that the collectors were not going to let them stay free. They're hunting us, Reed said to the other captains. They want to complete their collection by capturing all the humans who escaped. The survivors now knew they were in a race against time. The collectors had superior technology and were actively searching for them. Every day they stayed free was a victory, but they couldn't run forever. As the remaining ships flew toward different star systems, Reed wondered if they would ever see Earth again. The planet that had been their home was now a museum piece, and everyone they had ever known was frozen in time. The hunt had begun, and the last free humans in the galaxy were running for their lives. But Reed was determined that they would not give up without a fight. Somehow they would find a way to free Earth and everyone on it. The question was whether they could learn enough about the collectors to fight back before they were all captured. The future of humanity depended on the few hundred people scattered across space in damaged ships, running from an enemy that had conquered hundreds of species before them. The remaining human ships had been running for 2 weeks when the first collector pursuit ship found them. Reed was in his captain's chair when Ana Torres called out from her station with fear in her voice. Captain, we have a contact. It's one of those crystal ships, and it's heading straight for us. The collector ship was different from the large vessels they had seen around Earth. This one was smaller and faster, built for hunting rather than preservation. Its crystal hull seemed to bend light around it, making it hard to see clearly on the scanner. All ships, this is Reed. We have a hunter on our trail. Execute scatter pattern 7 and meet at the backup coordinates. The group of 5 remaining human ships split up and flew in different directions. Reed hoped the collector ship would have to choose which one to follow, giving the others time to escape. But the alien ship did something unexpected. It split into 3 smaller pieces, each one chasing a different human ship. The piece that followed the horizon's edge was fast and relentless. Torres watched it on the scanner as it slowly gained on them. "Captain, it's scanning us with some kind of energy beam. It's like it's studying everything about our ship." Chief Engineer Rosa Martinez called from the engine room. "Captain, that scanning beam is doing something to our engines. They're starting to slow down. If this keeps up, we'll be dead in space in 10 minutes. Reed made a desperate decision. "All power to engines. Shut down life support, communications, everything except what we need to fly." The horizon's edge surged forward as all available power went to the engines. The collector ship fell behind, but not by much. Reed knew they couldn't keep this up for long. The ship would run out of power soon. "Captain, I have an idea," said Dr. Chun from the station. "The asteroid belt we passed through yesterday. If we can get back there, maybe we can lose them among the rocks." The ship turned toward the asteroid field with the collector ship still following. Reed watched the fuel levels drop as they pushed the engines to their limit. They had one chance to lose their pursuer. "Take us into the densest part of the field," Reed ordered. "If we're going to hide, we need to do it right." The horizon's edge dove into the asteroid field with the collector ship close behind. The human ship was smaller and more maneuverable, able to weave between the rocks in ways the alien ship couldn't match. After an hour of dangerous flying, they managed to lose their pursuer. "Captain, the collector ship is moving away," Torres reported, "but it's not leaving the area. It's waiting for us to come out." Reed realized they were trapped. The collector ship could wait outside the asteroid field longer than the human ship could hide inside it. They needed a new plan. Dr. Chun had been studying the readings from the collector ship. "Captain, I've learned something important. The way they tracked us wasn't random. They're following some kind of signature that all human ships give off." "What kind of signature?" "I think it's biological. They're tracking human brain patterns. Every human gives off a unique quantum signature that their technology can detect." This was terrible news. If the collectors could track human thoughts, then no human ship could hide from them for long. Reed called an emergency meeting with his senior staff. "If Dr. Chun is right, then running won't work," Reed said. "They'll always be able to find us. We need to figure out how to block their tracking or find a way to fight back." Martinez had been working on the ship's defenses. "Captain, we have weapons, but they're mining lasers and cargo handling equipment. They're not made for fighting." "Alien ships. Then we'll have to make them work," Reed replied. "Rosa, I want you to modify every weapon we have. Make them as powerful as possible." While Martinez worked on the weapons, Dr. Chun studied the collector technology. He had managed to record detailed scans of the pursuit ship during their chase. "Captain, I think I've found a weakness. Their ships are made of some kind of living crystal. It's very strong, but it might be vulnerable to certain frequencies." The crew worked through the night to prepare their ship for battle. They knew they couldn't run forever, and they couldn't hide from the collector's tracking technology. Their only choice was to fight. 2 days later, the collector ship found them again. This time Reed was ready. "All stations, prepare for combat. This is what we trained for." The human ship came out of the asteroid field firing all its modified weapons. The mining lasers had been tuned to the frequency that Dr. Chun thought would work against the crystal ships. The beams hit the collector ship and caused visible damage to its hull. "It's working," Torres called out. "Their shields are down and we're punching holes in their armor." But the collector ship fought back with weapons that were far more advanced than anything the humans had. Energy beams that could slice through, metal like paper, and force fields that could crush a ship from the inside. "Hull breach on deck 3, Martinez reported. "Emergency bulkheads are holding, but we can't take much more of this." The battle lasted only minutes, but it felt like hours. The Horizon's Edge was badly damaged, but the collector ship was also hurt. Both ships pulled back to assess the damage. "Captain, they're sending us a message," Torres said. "It's in English." The voice that came through the speakers was cold and mechanical. "Human vessel, you have damaged our ship. This is unexpected. We offer you a choice. Surrender now and be preserved with honor, or continue fighting and be destroyed." Reed looked around at his crew. They were all injured and tired, but none of them looked ready to give up. "Send them our answer." Torres opened the communication channel. "This is Captain Marcus Reed of the human ship Horizon's Edge. We will never surrender. Earth is our home and we will fight to free it." The collector ship moved away without attacking again. Reed wasn't sure if they had won or if the aliens were just preparing for another assault. But for the first time since Earth had gone silent, humans had fought back against the collectors and survived. "Captain, I'm getting signals from other human ships," Torres reported. "They want to know what happened. Word is spreading that we fought a collector ship and lived." Reed realized that their battle had given other survivors hope. If one human ship could fight the collectors, maybe others could too. The scattered human ships began to come together, sharing information and resources over the following weeks. More human ships joined their group. They had learned to modify their weapons and work together to fight the collector pursuit ships. Not every battle was won, but the humans were no longer just running. Dr. Chun made another important discovery while studying captured collector technology. "Captain, I've found something in their computer systems. They're not just preserving species randomly, they're looking for something specific. Something they call the key." "What kind of key?" "I don't know yet, but it's important enough that they've been searching for it for millions of years. Every species they preserve is studied to see if they have this key." Reed wondered if humanity had what the collectors were looking for. If they did, it might be the only bargaining chip they had. But first, they had to survive long enough to figure out what the key was and how to use it. The hunt was far from over. But the humans were no longer just prey. They were learning to fight back, and that made all the difference. 6 months after the first battle with the collectors, Reed stood in the main hangar of their hidden base built inside a dead comet. Around him, nearly 200 human survivors worked on weapons, ships, and equipment. What had started as a few desperate refugees had become something much more organized. The survivors had learned to work together in ways they never had before. Engineers from different ships shared their knowledge to build better weapons. Scientists combined their research to understand collector technology. Even the children who had been on the passenger ships were helping by running messages and sorting supplies. "Captain, the new pulse cannons are ready for testing," Martinez reported. She had become the leader of all the engineering teams and had spent months figuring out how to make human weapons work against collector ships. Dr. Chun had made his own breakthrough while studying the alien technology they had recovered from. Battles. "Captain, I've learned something important about the key the collectors are looking for. It's not an object. It's a pattern of thought that only appears in certain species." "What kind of pattern?" "The ability to create something from nothing. To imagine things that don't exist and then make them real. The collectors have been searching for a species that can do this because their own race lost this ability millions of years ago." Reed began to understand why the collectors had chosen to preserve humanity. Humans were known throughout the galaxy for their creativity and their ability to solve problems in unexpected ways. "So they want to study us to learn how to be creative again." "More than that," Chun replied. "I think they want to take that ability for themselves. Every species they preserve is eventually absorbed into their collective consciousness. They're not just collecting civilizations, they're stealing their unique abilities." This revelation changed everything. The humans weren't just fighting to free Earth, they were fighting to prevent their creativity from being stolen by aliens who had lost their own ability to create. The survivors worked even harder to prepare for the battles ahead. Ana Torres had been training other communications officers to coordinate attacks between multiple ships. "Captain, we're getting better at working together. The last raid on the collector supply station was our most successful yet. The human resistance had learned to hit small collector facilities and steal their technology. Each successful raid gave them more knowledge about their enemies and better weapons to fight with. But the collectors were adapting too, sending more ships to guard their facilities. "We need to think bigger," Reed told his senior staff during their daily meeting. "Small raids won't be enough to free Earth. We need to find their main base and strike at the heart of their operation." Dr. Chun had been studying star charts and collector communications. "Captain, I think I've found something." There are references in their messages to a place called the Eternal Gallery. It's where they keep all the species they've preserved. Where is it? I don't know exactly, but I think it's somewhere near the center of the galaxy. The collectors have been moving ships in that direction for months. Reed realized that finding the Eternal Gallery would be the key to freeing not just Earth, but all the other species the collectors had preserved. The thought of hundreds of civilizations trapped in time motivated him more than anything else. Lieutenant Hayes had been working on breaking more collector codes. "Captain, I've translated some of their technical manuals. The preservation fields they use have a weakness. If you can disrupt the quantum field generators, the whole system will collapse. How do we disrupt them? We need to get close enough to plant quantum bombs on the generators. But the problem is that the generators are inside the preservation fields. Someone would have to go inside and plant the bombs manually. This was a dangerous plan. Anyone who went inside a preservation field would be frozen in time like everyone else. But Dr. Chun had an idea that might work. "Captain, what if we could modify our life support systems to create a small disruption field around a person? It might protect them from the preservation effect long enough to plant the bombs." The survivors spent weeks working on this new technology. They tested it on small collector devices they had captured and slowly figured out how to make it work. The first test with a human volunteer was terrifying, but it worked. "Captain, we're ready," Martinez announced. "We have the bombs, the protection suits, and the ships to carry out the mission. But we'll need to get past the collector fleet around Earth first." Reed looked at the tactical display showing the massive collector fleet surrounding their home planet. There were hundreds of ships, all more advanced than anything humanity had ever built. The mission would be almost impossible. "We need a distraction," Reed decided. "Something big enough to pull their ships away from Earth." Torres had been monitoring collector communications. "Captain, I've been tracking their ship movements. They're very protective of their supply lines. If we attacked their main supply depot, they might send ships from Earth to defend it." The human resistance had grown. Beyond just the survivors from Earth, they had rescued other species that had escaped from collector preservation facilities. A group of Volf-like aliens called the Cathara had joined them, bringing their own ships and knowledge of collector weaknesses. "The Cathara leader Vex has offered to lead the distraction attack," Reed told his staff. "Their ships are faster than ours and they know how to hit collector supply lines." While the Cathara attacked the supply depot, the human ships would attempt to reach Earth and plant the quantum bombs. It was a desperate plan with little chance of success, but it was their best hope. The night before the mission, Reed walked through the base looking at all the people who had chosen to stay and fight instead of running further into space. Engineers worked on final modifications to their ships. Scientists checked and rechecked their calculations. Soldiers prepared weapons and practiced their assault plans. "Captain, there's something else," Dr. Chun said as he approached Reed. "I've been analyzing the quantum patterns from Earth. I think some of the people in the preservation field are starting to wake up on their own." "What do you mean?" "The human mind is more creative than the collectors realized. Some people are finding ways to think outside the preservation field. They're not free yet, but they're aware of what's happening." This news gave Reed hope. If some people on Earth were already fighting back from inside the preservation field, then the mission might have a better chance of success. The people of Earth weren't just waiting to be rescued, they were trying to rescue themselves. As the human ships prepared to leave their hidden base, Reed sent a message to all the survivors. "Tomorrow we either free Earth or we die trying. Either We'll face it together as humans who never gave up. The resistance had grown from a few scared refugees into a fighting force that had learned to work together and never surrender. They were ready to risk everything to free their home planet and all the other species trapped by the collectors. The final battle was about to begin, and Reed knew that win or lose, humanity would face it with the creativity and determination that had brought them this far. The collectors had chosen to preserve humanity at its peak, but they had underestimated what humans could do when they fought for their freedom. The final battle began at dawn ship time when the Cathara fleet launched their attack on the collector supply depot. Reed watched from the bridge of the horizon's edge as explosions lit up the darkness of space in a distant star system. The distraction was working, and collector ships were moving away from Earth to defend their supply lines. "Captain, we're detecting movement in the Earth fleet," Torres reported. 60% of their ships are heading toward the Cathara attack. This is our chance. Reed looked around at his crew one last time. They had been together for over 2 years, running and fighting across the galaxy. Now they were about to attempt the most dangerous mission any human had ever tried. "All ships, this is Reed. The distraction is working. Begin Phase 1 of the operation." The human fleet split into 3 groups. The first group would attack the remaining collector ships around Earth to draw their attention. The second group would fly directly to the planet and plant the quantum bombs. The third group would stay back as reserves in case something went wrong. Dr. Chung was in the second group, wearing one of the modified protection suits that might keep him alive inside the preservation field. "Captain, remember that we only have about 10 minutes inside the field before the suit fails. If we're not out by then, we'll be frozen like everyone else." "I understand, Michael. Just get those bombs planted and get out." The first group attacked the collector ships with everything they had. The human weapons had been improved over months of fighting, and now they could actually damage the crystal ships. But the collectors still had better technology and more. "Ships, hull breach on Deck 4, Martinez called out as the horizon's edge shook from enemy fire. "Emergency systems are holding, but we can't take much more of this." The battle around Earth was fierce but brief. The human ships were outmatched, but they had accomplished their goal. The remaining collector ships were focused on the attack, and didn't notice the small group of ships heading for the planet's surface. "Second group, this is Reed. The defense fleet is distracted. You're clear to begin the landing." Dr. Chun and his team of 12 volunteers flew their small ship through Earth's atmosphere and landed in what used to be New York City. The city was exactly as it had been 2 years ago, but everything was frozen in time. Cars stopped in the middle of streets, people walking but not moving, birds hanging motionless in the air. "This is incredible," said Lieutenant Wilson as he looked around at the frozen city. "It's like a photograph, but we can walk through it." Chun activated his protection suit and stepped into the preservation field. The feeling was strange, like walking through thick water that tried to slow down every movement. "The suit is working. I can move normally inside the field." The team split up to plant quantum bombs at different locations around the city. Each bomb had to be placed exactly right to disrupt the field generators without destroying the city. They had practiced this mission dozens of times, but doing it for real was much harder. "Chun, this is Torres. We're getting reports from the other landing sites. Teams in London and Tokyo have successfully planted their bombs. Beijing team is having trouble with their protection suits." Chun worked as fast as he could, placing bombs on the invisible field generators that kept the city frozen. The protection suit was already starting to fail after 5 minutes, and he could feel the preservation field trying to freeze him in place. "All bombs planted," Chun reported. "Getting out now." But as the team tried to return to their ship, they found that the collectors had discovered their plan. Crystal ships appeared over the city and began searching for the human intruders. The team had to hide among the frozen people and vehicles while the alien ships scanned the area. "Chun, we need to go now," Wilson whispered. "The suit readings are getting critical." They ran through the frozen city toward their ship, but Chun could feel the preservation field getting stronger. His movements were getting slower, and he knew the suit would fail soon. "Go without me," he told Wilson. Get the ship out of here. No way. We're all getting out together. Wilson grabbed Chun and carried him the last 100 meters to their ship. They lifted off just as the protection suit failed completely. Chun collapsed on the floor of the ship, but he was alive and free. All teams, this is Reed. Report your status. London team, mission successful. All bombs planted and team extracted. Tokyo team, mission successful, but we lost 2 people. Bombs are in place. Beijing team, mission partially successful. 3 bombs planted, but the team is trapped inside the field. Reed felt sick knowing that some of his people were trapped, but the mission had to continue. All ships, pull back to minimum safe distance. Prepare to detonate the bombs. The human ships retreated to what they hoped was a safe distance from Earth. The quantum bombs would create a massive explosion that would either free the planet or destroy it completely. There was no way to know which would happen until they tried. Captain, we're getting a signal from Earth, Torres announced. It's coming from inside the preservation field. The signal was weak but clear. This is Commander Sarah Walsh calling the human fleet. We've been working from inside the field to weaken it. When you detonate your bombs, we'll be ready to help. From this end, Reed couldn't believe it. Some of the people on Earth had found a way to fight back from inside the preservation field. Dr. Chun had been right about the human mind being more creative than the collectors realized. Sarah, this is Marcus Ridd. How many people have broken free inside the field? Thousands and more every day. We've been organizing resistance cells in every major city. The collectors don't know we're awake because we've learned to hide our thoughts from their scanners. This changed everything. The people of Earth weren't just waiting to be rescued, they were preparing to rescue themselves. The quantum bombs would weaken the field, and the people inside would do the rest. All ships prepare to detonate on my mark, Reed ordered. Sarah, are your people ready? We're ready, Marcus. Do it. Detonate the bombs. The explosions were visible from space as brilliant flashes of light erupted from cities all over Earth. The preservation field flickered and sparked like a broken machine. For a moment, Reed thought it might collapse completely. Then the field stabilized and began to fade slowly. The blue glow that had surrounded Earth for 2 years was getting weaker, and normal radio signals began to come through. It's working, Torres shouted. The field is collapsing. I'm getting thousands of signals from Earth. The collector ships around Earth began to panic. They had never seen a preservation field fail before, and they didn't know how to respond. Some ships tried to reinforce the field, while others attacked the human fleet. All ships, protect Earth while the field collapses, Reed ordered. Don't let them interfere with the process. The final battle was the fiercest of the war. The collectors threw everything they had at the human fleet, but the humans fought back with the desperation of people protecting their home. Ships were lost on both sides, but the human fleet held their ground. Captain, the field is down to 20%, Torres reported. People are starting to move on the surface. Reed watched on the main screen as the cities of Earth slowly came back to life. Cars began moving, people continued their interrupted conversations, and birds resumed their flight. The planet that had been frozen for 2 years was waking up. This is Commander Walsh to all human ships. Earth is free. The preservation field has collapsed and everyone is safe. Welcome home. Reed felt tears in his eyes as he heard the voices of billions of people coming back to life. The mission had worked and humanity was free, but the war wasn't over yet. Captain, we're getting a signal from the Kithara fleet, Torres announced. They found the location of the Eternal Gallery. They want to know if we're ready to free the other species. Reed looked at Earth, now free and alive again, and then at the stars where hundreds of other species were still trapped by the collectors. The human resistance had proven that the aliens could be defeated, but there was still work to do. Tell them we're ready, Reed said. Humanity is free, but we won't rest until every species trapped by the collectors is free too. The last free. Humans in the galaxy had become the liberators of all the trapped species. The collectors had underestimated human creativity and determination, and now they would face the consequences of their actions. The hunt was over, but the war for freedom was just beginning.